Hello everyone, I'm Chris Mozillo Shockleyson, and today I'll be taking an indie look at the second game from Supergiant Games. Yes, that's right, the audio and visual stimulatory experience known as Transistor. So, this is a game I've been meaning to do for quite some time, as the last time I actually played Transistor, well, my room looked a lot like this. Yes, that is a bathtub. But after a few things came up, we're here, a full 10 months after the game's release. Oops. Transistor tells the tale of Red, a singer who has lost her voice, somehow, as she travels the city of Cloudbank to get her revenge on those that took her precious voice from her. She uses the aid of a mysterious talking sword known as the Transistor, which has the mind, or soul, or consciousness of some man who is seemingly close to Red. All the while they're being chased by a mysterious white robotic intelligence known as the Process. That's more or less it in terms of plot. I mean, there are the Camarades who are the ones who are responsible for the attack and are ultimately the big bad, but well, they don't seem too important to the story, if I'm honest. As you traverse the rather beautifully depicted Cloudbank, you have to take part in combat against the before-mentioned Process. The combat in this game is, in my opinion, really strong. You fight by using abilities which you gain over time by leveling or just through the story, and you combine these to be either active abilities, modifier abilities to the active ones, or even just a passive ability. Every single function you obtain can be used in any of these ways, adding up to a ridiculous number of combinations, and one of the best things is that pretty much every combination feels completely viable as a tactic. The main combat revolves around the turn open bracket close bracket, which is where you stop time and then plan out your movements and function use in accordance to your action bar. This adds a lot of strategy to the combat, as instead of just wildly flinging your abilities everywhere, you can really fine-tune everything. This planning phase really works well with the fine-tuning of your abilities, as you're not fully dependent on actually hitting the enemy or anything, as when you finish with your turn, open bracket, close bracket, it instantly happens. You may think that this means that the combat is very slow and stagnant, but that's not exactly true. The thing that limits the combat is the moment where you have to wait for your bar to refill. If you're like me and you use the jaunt open bracket close bracket, it just means you spend this entire time dashing around trying not to be hit, as you can't use any of your other abilities. Really, it's a bit awkward. But the nitty-gritty of everything is just in the adjustment of your functions. There are small little challenge levels that work really well with this combat system. Each level imposes its own restrictions upon the player, which force you to try new and different combinations, and heck, you may even learn of a new and better function setup to replace your current one. Dying in combat can be a little overly damaging. You end up losing access to one of your functions, which ends up being a whole quarter of your usable abilities, and these only come back after so many checkpoints. So if you're struggling with a fight and you end up dying, that fight is obviously not going to be easier. It's now gotten exponentially harder. I think if it just gave you a reduced action bar for your turn, open bracket, close bracket, it'd probably be better, as you can sort of work around that. I mean, it's what you've been doing the entire game, but losing an entire function that may be vital to your strategy, you may as well just reload the game instead. And of course, there are extra add-ons, limiters, that make the game more of a challenge by increasing damage taken or reducing damage dealt. I found myself playing with about half of them active, and the game was pretty enjoyable, and they can really add up to make quite the challenge. So the combat's pretty good, really good even. I'd say it's better than Bastion's. Oh, that's right, I failed to go through something that talks about Transistor without mentioning Bastion. Obviously there's a lot of comparison between the two. There's, well, same developer, same music, same disembodied voice. But yeah, in terms of story, I feel that Transistor is overall a lot weaker than Bastion, where you had a narrator actively narrating your events because it was actually the past turned through to present. It made sense for the voice to talk about areas as if it was telling a story, and in a story you tend to fill it out with description to give areas a feeling or mood. In Transistor, that disembodied voice now follows you around in real time, and it's your sword, and this time, I just found it annoying.
This didn't used to be here. Oh, Okay, look at that. Trouble. Popping up like weeds. I'll miss this place.
It's just there, constantly making ever slight comments about anything and everything.
Going up.
I found this just annoying. Sure, there may be an urge to fill all the walking the streets with some form of conversation. It's the only way we learn anything about what the world was once like. But when it's done through small quips, it's just nerve-grinding. Hey, what's that over there? Haha, that's weird. Whoa, check that out. Whoa, hey, have you seen this thing? What about that one? Look at that one. Pretty weird, right? Whoa, look at that thing. The voice will constantly tell you about how the world you're in once was, which is ultimately meaningless to you as by the time you get anywhere, the world is completely destroyed already, with everyone in the city apparently dead or assimilated or whatever. When you go to a pizza place and they're like, this pizza was always the best, it doesn't mean anything, despite somehow still getting a pizza delivered to your apartment. The only comparison you ever get on the world is just when you revisit places and it goes from abandoned and destroyed city to an even more destroyed city. And at that point it sort of loses any impact on you, as watching something already broken be broken more just doesn't really mean anything. That's not to say there aren't any impactful moments within the game. The music and art style all manage to really pull off a great sensation as you travel through the game with an outstanding soundtrack, which, accompanied by the dedicated hum button, actually manages to add a lot of weight to the songs, as they begin to feel real within the game. Red is a singer who has lost her voice, and now all she can do is just hum a tune, which can turn the soundtrack into a rather haunting reminder of what was taken from our main character. While there were some parts that really kind of annoyed me, yeah, that. Other than that, I really enjoyed Transistor. Like, the combat, as you may have noticed, was something that I really loved. I played through the game twice, and, you know, it was still pretty fun, and I was finding new combinations that I kind of enjoyed, and, you know, ended up using frequently. It's without really having to be said, but, like, the graphics are amazing. It's like, it just really looks kind of beautiful, and it's just so good looking, because the art style and how it's that sort of semi-oil painting, semi-painting style, but also not quite, and it just looks really nice, and the music is, of course, one of the strongest points, with some of the vocal tracks being incredibly strong and very catchy. Overall, I would greatly suggest Transistor. If you enjoyed Bastion, then yeah, I mean, you'd probably enjoy Transistor. Even if you didn't enjoy Bastion, I think, personally, that it's probably better, in terms of gameplay at least, so you may enjoy it greater in that regard. So yeah, probably you should check it out, because it's a really good indie game. Yeah. Hey there, and thank you for watching my video. If you like what you saw, feel free to let me know with either a like or even a comment with your own opinions on the subject matter or the video itself. Even if you didn't like the video, you know, let me know down below why, or for whatever reasons. I like hearing people's opinions and hatred of me. If you're feeling particularly insane, why not go the extra mile and subscribe to my channel, or watch some of my other videos that are on the screen already, or not. Bye-bye. Indie look at the visually wrong audio. The main combat revolves around the turn, bracket, blah 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 blah. Gonna make a joke, make it right. The main, also, probably scroll down a bit. Or the like. I find myself